Got your other one open.
Did
I give you another one?
You check the sound and all that?
Hello, welcome to episode 35 of To Be Honest. I'm Addison.
Now we got to talk about this boring movie. I'm Jackson.
Whoa! Jackson laid all his cards down early on.
I can't believe this motherfucker.
And we saw Them, the new Keegan-Michael Key film.
Us.
What?
What?
What are you talking about? We saw Them by Keegan-Michael Key.
I don't even know who Kegel. The Kegel movie.
Okay, all right. We saw Us by Jordan Peele. Keegan-Michael Key is the other half of Key and Peele.
Oh.
I was making an inversion joke, you know? Instead of us, it's
like
them.
he's out
instead
there
of
making like some like student film called Them.
called them. He's like, man, I gotta be Jordan at this shit, man. I gotta get a leg up, man.
Can't handle it.
I'm tired of acting in all these dumb romantic comedies.
What's he up to these days?
What he just said.
Yeah, he's like in a bunch of dumb romantic comedies. He's on some Netflix show called, like, it's about like college friends.
Adulting or something.
It's something ridiculously stupid like that. I like Key. He's a pretty charismatic
I remember
dude.
him going back to his Mad TV days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we saw Us by Jordan Peele, his second directorial feature. His debut was Get Out, the critical darling that came out in 2016. 2016.
We do not forget those years.
We do not. I'd like to maybe open it up real quick with hearing your guys' thoughts on Get Out. Like, what is your thought about Get Out 2-3 years down the road here?
I guess I will go first.
Well, we're giving you your fucking chance to talk.
Jackson just looked immediately at me, so I thought.
I was like, we're start over here.
Get Out. I was really excited about before the movie came out. I'm not sure because I think like the comedy horror aspect of like the way it was promoted was just because I knew Jordan Peele as a comedian, as a sketch writer and performer. And like that was at the height of Key and Peele as well. It was 2016. I think they're on their way out, but they were still like culturally significant enough that like you hear his name and you know that has some weight to it. Especially that he's directing a horror film. Like that's not what that's like most of the press was like Jordan Peele actually loves horror films. So I was really excited about it. I was really also critical of it, and ultimately I enjoyed it. I was just critical of like probably the second half of the movie. And felt like it was a first, like a directorial debut. That's what it felt like to me. Like not like an above average, but not masterpiece.
I see no brother around here.
Chris was just telling me how he felt much more comfortable with my being here. Get out.
Sorry, man.
Get out! Yo!
If I remember correctly, that was kind of a sleeper hit though, where I saw it when it opened, and I remember it being like kind of like a empty theater.
I was like a sold out experience.
Was it?
Yeah.
Same
Maybe-
here.
maybe I
I
misread that.
I think it was actually released pretty close to this time of year in 2016.
It was released in February, I think.
No, it was like end of March
It was in
because
March?
we saw it for that being my wife and I. We saw it for my birthday, which is April 1st. and it had just come out. I think it was like maybe the first or second
was a
weekend
packed
that it had
theater?
been out, and it was packed. Yeah, absolutely. And so you said then that you went to see it. You thought it was kind of a sleeper hit, and
I liked it though.
You liked it.
I felt like when I walked out of it, I was like, that felt like it was kind of like sketches that were put together. Like the movie didn't have like a really good flow to it, but I thought the acting was really good, and I thought it was clever, which is what that movie needed to be. It was trying to be like, you know, have a clever take on this like really established genre, which is horror.
Yes. I found it to be more competent than I expected because I didn't have a super high opinion of Key and Peele going into it. I liked the sketches that hit it big, like A.A. Ron, you know, and stuff like that. But when I would sit down to watch an episode, it was by no means consistently entertaining.
That's fair. That's
And so when I saw that he was directing this movie and it was getting good reviews, I was kind of surprised and intrigued, right? So I went to go see it. When I first saw it, I thought it was pretty good. You know, I thought that there were some really like fun and interesting ideas in there. Of course, I loved like the dad being like, I would have voted for Obama for a third time if I could have. And then the scene that really stood out to me was when he like goes out into the yard for a smoke or something like that, and then he just sees the dude like running at like sprinting full. And then once I you know, understood the premise of the movie, I was like, oh, damn, that was like a really fucking clever way of introducing this idea of the white coveting the black athleticism by having the grandpa like just running full steam through the yard for no reason at like at midnight.
It was like, for me, it was a perfect, it's like what I want out of a movie when you want to address like racial, like just the racial conversation in general. Like, making it weird, making like having like your own choices, which is like that still resonates with us. Like Jordan Peele was making deliberate choices. It didn't feel like he was kind of like unsure and just kind of like was giving or like just letting the movie take on its own thing. He was like, yeah, I want like this black guy to just be sprinting in the middle of the night, and I want something so distinct, but also like overall, like as the film goes along, it's creating an overall message.
What's interesting too is that in that movie he doesn't go after blatant racism where they're like, oh, black people are, you know, subhuman or something like that. It's like this liberal subtle racism where they're like coveting blackness and like
And reappropriating it and
exactly where it's just like, hey, black is hip now, we're all trying to be black.
yeah.
It's like pretty straightforward. I just like that you can take a straightforward element and then have your own like a unique film in general, and then also apply something that's I guess deeper, but not just like the self, but blackness, which is like not a thing that's given such creativity. It's very straightforward usually in most movies when you talk about it, where it's like racism's wrong, even if they try to make it like the liberals are wrong too.
It is part of the metaphor pretty
It's like the
black
whole
and
movie.
white, right?
Oh.
Like there's stereotypical characters. They're all talking about these like well-worn, entrenched ideas that have been talked about over and over again.
They're
whereas
safe.
They're safe. Whereas to your point, Get Out felt a little fresher because it was addressing like the non-direct racism, the racism of coveting aspects of blackness, of the culture of
For film that's new, I think.
Yes, yeah, that's what I mean. And so, and I will. God damn it! Sorry, Josh. Yeah, my bad.
It's hard, man.
It is.
It's hard
It
out
is.
in the
Like in
streets.
this punching match with your mics over here.
I will say that I found Get Out to reward a second viewing. Lauren and
Me
I
too.
watched it about a year ago, and I picked up on things that I didn't pick up on the first viewing that really enriched the
It
experience.
was a really good second viewing. I
Yeah.
agree.
So then now that we've established that, give me your kind of broad strokes impression of us.
All right. I wasn't sure what I was feeling until about halfway through.
Does like a particular scene come to mind?
I don't know. I don't know if like anything specifically. It might have been after. Yeah, it was after. Should we do spoilers?
We're gonna do a spoiler alert, so let's not talk about any specific scenes. Just
Okay,
kinda give
so
me.
midway through, it kind of felt like the tone shifted, and I was a little concerned with where this movie was going. But it did something, and I thought, I like this movie now. I was like unsure, and I was like, where's it going? And then it went there, and I was like, cool. Overall, I enjoy this movie.
Okay.
And I was satisfied, especially following Get Out. Thinking about Get Out while watching this movie, I was still satisfied.
Which is inescapable. You can't watch this movie without thinking about Get Out.
Which is problematic for Jordan Peele. I'm sure he had that
Mm-hmm.
pressure, and I think that he did a fine job with that pressure.
I would say that I had the inverse experience as you, where I was really, really invested in it for probably the first half, maybe even through the second act. And then as more of the story was revealed, it kind of lost me a little bit.
I think, yeah, okay. I had to readjust what I wanted from that movie, and that's why I still liked it. I think I know why you liked it at first. Because it's, okay,
We'll get into that, but Jackson, what about you?
I like parts of it, but overall, I thought that it was there wasn't really much there to latch onto. Like, there wasn't a payout. Like, there were certain scenes where I was like, "There's potential here." Like, I'm interested to see what's gonna happen. And then, like, when the movie like pulls back and is like, "Hey, like, this is what we're heading towards," I was disappointed.
Where's Jason?
Jason?
Where were you?
So the movie opens up with this, script on the screen about like how there's like millions of miles, maybe that's not right, thousands of miles of tunnels under the United States that were once subway systems, that were once empty mines, and some of them serve no purpose at all. Mm-hmm. That's what the movie opens
So
on,
you
and
have
I
this
was like,
fear of the unknown being established.
Yeah.
What's
and
underneath
most
us?
and it finishes with most of us don't know our purpose. Or
most of
something
them
like
have
that.
no purpose or something
Or
like that.
most of them don't know their purpose.
Yeah.
I think it's
It's vague enough to where you could interpret it as being related to the text that preceded it, which was about the subway tunnels and the mines. But then it's also broad enough to where, you could interpret it as like, oh, that's a statement about humans. Some of us don't know our purpose.
dual meaning.
What? What?
And I spent several years reading literature, and I've come to learn that is dual meaning.
Double consciousness.
Well, yeah, okay, so that's how. So the film
Deep.
double consciousness for $2.99.
For just the price of a movie ticket, you can learn all about double consciousness.
Yeah, white people, if you want to learn like what it's like to be afraid of yourself, watch us.
So we've got a meh,
anyways.
we've got a yeah, and we've got probably kind of a meh, honestly.
So let's address the like good of the beginning of the film.
So what
If
I'll
there
say,
is any.
what I'll say about this movie is that it is stylish, it is competently made. Like I could see the growth that Jordan Peele made between Get Out and this. This just felt a little bit more professional, if that makes any kind of sense at all. I particularly loved the intro. So it starts out with the old tube TV, right, and like the entertainment system, and you've got like Chud, and you've got The Right Stuff, and you've got Nightmare on Elm Street, and all these videotapes lining up in the entertainment center as the camera slowly, not a zoom, like dollies in tracking. Thank you, tracks into the TV. And what I liked about that is I felt like Jordan was setting it up immediately. Like, these were my influences.
They're like only 80s kids will get this.
right. And then you have the opening scene at the carnival or the festival or whatever, where the dad is playing the game, and it felt very 80s. Like, that's how so many 80s and 90s horror movies started out, is at the fucking at the amusement park, right? Even non-horror movies like Big starts out at a fucking, like, it was a nice touch. And also I thought that it was really well shot, particularly when she's going through that like Hall of Mirrors type thing. There were some really good disorienting camera angles. There's a jump scare in there that got me a little bit. And then when she's actually in the Hall of Mirrors and she sees the exit sign and she starts running and boom, she hits a mirror. It was a good fucking moment. That was a really good moment. It set my expectations high, and one could argue maybe a little too high. So you have that opening scene, which I really adored, and then it centers on our family, right, who are the focus of the movie. as they go to their summer house in Santa Cruz to, I guess, enjoy some well-deserved time off.
Yeah, what is it? I thought it was like their grandparent or her home, right? Lupita's character's home.
You know, I
think
thought
it's
they were
just-
maybe suggesting that, but I never felt like I got it concretely, whether they owned it or whether it was like Lupita's home from when she was a kid. And then I was like, are
Maybe they like inherited it.
yeah, like her parents are dead, and it's just like
Right.
this time capsule of when her parents lived there or
This
something.
movie's not too concerned about details like that.
Yeah.
They're like, they're there. It's their place. Let's go.
Details exist in this movie, but not necessarily when it comes to the story. There are visual details, there are thematic details, but as far as the story is concerned, I felt like it was kind of half-baked, honestly. But so I really liked the opening scene. I liked the dynamics that they established with the family. You know, the dad was pretty funny. Forgive me, I don't know his name. I don't even know his name in the movie.
His name is something Watson. He's the drink up, boys. He's in Black Panther.
Yeah, he's the gorilla guy in Black Panther.
Whoa,
He is?
whoa.
He's the leader of the gorilla clan.
Yeah, like they're in that polar bear.
Yes.
Well, it's not polar bear. It's a gorilla, but like Iceland.
I do not want to help your family. And he was the one that challenged Black Panther in the beginning of the movie too.
I remember the character, yeah.
Yeah. And then
Winston Duke, not
Winston,
Watson.
Winston Duke.
He
Okay.
has some range to him.
And he's not
Yeah.
American. Our two leads
Is
are
he
not
British?
American. He's from Africa, Swangalabalese.
I was wondering because it did sound a little bit like his American accent was kind of affected.
Yeah. Well,
that it wasn't quite natural.
His character is a Jordan Peele impression.
Yes.
He's Trinbagonian.
He looks very similar to Jordan Peele
He
too,
does,
with
with
the
his
glasses
glasses.
and the beard and like, yeah, like no, it was obvious that Jordan Peele was trying to insert himself in this movie, but then also make himself a little bit better looking, a little bit.
That dude is hunky.
Yeah, he is.
He's hunky,
He is.
and when I say hunky, I mean he's chunky and hunk.
Probably the funniest part of this movie is when he's trying to seduce his wife, and he just like
Jackson like
spreads
that.
out on the bed, which is like that scene's actually really clever because she's having like a flashback and she's like terrified and she's looking out the window, which is really ominous, and he's just like sprawled out on the bed in his boxers. And he's like trying to like
He's like,
be
hey.
suave,
Trying to get in that ass, and then
And then he says something where he's like still trying to pass off the
she says like, "We've got to get out of here,"
He's
and
like-
he's like,
where to.
"Yeah, yeah."
Like he still doesn't get it.
But then there was like a really nice moment there when she turns around and she's like, "No, I'm serious. Like we've got to leave." Blah blah blah. And then he has this moment of like, where he realizes, "Okay, I'm not
gotta
getting
be
laid
there for my
tonight.
wife."
All right,
Yeah.
come here. I'll put my arm around you. I'll listen to you, etc., etc." You know, the husband duty essentially. He realized he was put back on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're in the home. We've already established that like something has happened to what's her name in the movie?
Addie. I wasn't quite sure. I literally only heard her name in the opening scene when the dad and the mom were be like, "Addie, Patty, do you want this?"
That's interesting. I just watched a movie. I don't want to go off too far off track, but Izzy Gets the Fuck Across Town, where they rely on dialogue to tell you who is who and why they're who and what the relationship between everybody is. So it's like a lot of reference, like, Izzy, you know that I can't help you anymore because even though I helped you with the death of my sister, like they have all that like exposition in the middle of their dialogue.
It reminds me of the golden rule that so many teachers taught me in college for writing, which was you never want to have the line, "Well, as you know, John."
Yeah.
Because if John knows, then we don't need to explain it
Right.
to him.
So I mean,
Yeah.
maybe to a fault, it's like we don't hear everyone speaking each other's names.
Yeah, but her real name is Lupita
Lupita Nyong'o.
Nyong'o.
I think that's how you say it. Apostrophe O.
And then you have a son and a daughter. Daughter is probably what, like 14, 15. Son's probably closer to like 10, something like that. Daughter, of course, you know, all these like shorthands for characters. She's
Addie,
got
you're
her AirPod Addie. She's got her AirPods in, or not. Actually, they're not.
They're not AirPods. They're not that
She's just got the regular pods. And,
Broke.
And then the little boy is always wearing the Wolfman mask, which
Yeah.
I want to get into a little bit later. But they do a good job of establishing character early on, which is because these characters aren't super complex.
Well, there's family chemistry.
Yes.
Which was important as far as, like, even caring that they're, like, a family. Is that there has to be, like, a certain chemistry going on there, which I feel like the dad brings that together. Like, he's the glue there. Like
when he dabs on him.
That's when I know
Hey,
I like
hey,
that
watch this.
And she's like, ew.
Yeah,
the daughter. Yeah.
I feel like that's what I do, like, around younger people. Just,
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
dab up on him.
So yeah, there's chemistry. There's immediate, like, establishing of characters, but it doesn't feel forced. You're not, like, like saying, like, what our relationship is between each other, like why I care about you and more. There's just subtle moments, like when Lupita and young boy, don't know,
Boy.
We'll call him Wolfie.
Wolf boy.
He, like, I forget what it was, but they're in like late at night after the beach, and he runs away. He walks away
To go use the bathroom.
She thinks he's lost, she
which
freaks
parallels her experience when she was a kid, which is why she freaks out.
And I was really, and so they get back home, and she's like, they have that moment where she's like, if you're with me, you'll be safe, like, stick with me. So nice, like, that's, like, definitely setting up that, like, there's something between them more than anybody else, between Lupita and any of the other family members.
So I can't tell you exactly what the point of it is, but Jordan Peele does go to great lengths to establish dynamics between mother and son and father and daughter. Because later on in the movie, and I guess at this point we can just go ahead and say, spoilers! Later on in the movie, you see that manifested in the fact that mom and boy go off and do their own thing, and then father and daughter go off and they do their own thing. Father and daughter go and they find the ambulance and all that shit. And then mom has to save the son from the doppelganger, et cetera, et cetera. So he's striving to discuss maybe the importance that a mother has in a boy's life and the importance that a father has in a daughter's life. Mm-hmm. He brings it up, but I didn't necessarily feel like he commented on it necessarily.
Yeah, I don't know if you need. I don't really. I noticed more with the mom and son. I didn't really make that connection with the father. I didn't know if he was, like, trying to parallel or just focus on their relationship, just mother and son.
Stick with me, and I'll keep you safe.
But yeah, so they're, like, in this house, which is, like, what's getting me really excited about it is, like, they're in the house. I've seen the trailer. I know that this fucking family is going to show up that looks just like them, and it's going to be kind of like a strangers type scenario where they're, like, in the house trying to figure things out. And that was the expectation I had from that point when they do show up.
I honestly,
and I quickly realized that, like, that's not going to be the movie.
I thought this was going to be way more of a home invasion type horror movie than it turned out to be, because honestly they get out of the house relatively quick.
They get out.
They get out
real fast.
Get out.
Sorry, man.
Get out! Yo!
So yeah, they do get out of the movie, or excuse me, they do get out of that house relatively quick, and then the plot takes on from there. As much as I liked the beginning, I did feel that it was overlong. And
what would you cut?
I mean, I probably would have cut some of the family dynamics, like maybe like the brother scaring the sister, like little scenes that.
But you couldn't cut that.
Right, because of the ambulance thing for later on. A lot of it is laying the groundwork.
Yeah, okay.
I acknowledge that. A lot of that is him laying the groundwork for these little callbacks that he's going to make throughout the film.
And if you're talking about, sorry, Jackson, like growth, in terms of setting things up, like this seemed way more like I was like, didn't know how it was going to play out, but I knew that that's going to happen again. That's going to happen again. Yeah. But it didn't feel
even the snapping, right? When she's teaching him to snap.
I was really excited to see how that happened.
Yeah.
Keep rhythm.
Yeah.
And yeah, like all those different things were, and I think a review would be good. Jackson, we're just...
Which, can I just say real quick, I kind of laughed heartily. So the boy discovers, I guess... Anyways, the boy discovers that his doppelganger mirrors all of his moves, right? And that's how he gets out of the closet.
Jason, Zora, Gabe.
Jason, Zora, Gabe. It's a weird name.
It's all three of them.
I know. And so he realizes the doppelganger mimics his actions, and so that he starts walking backwards, and then so does the kid, and then it cuts to the kid burning, and it was just very clearly like a 4'3" middle-aged black man with that mask on, like, doing the gratuitous walk of flame. Because he's got these like huge hands.
Oh, really? I didn't
It's
notice
like
that.
built like it's obviously an adult's body in this jumpsuit. Anyways, I thought that was really funny, and I had to bring it up. I'm sorry. Where were we? I completely got us off track.
Jackson's gonna
here.
jump in. I cut
We
him
were
off,
talking about how the beginning was kind of laborious and took too long.
Yeah.
which I disagree with.
Well,
But I understand why like it may not be as necessary.
I thought,
enjoyed it.
like, when I was hoping there would be like a good payoff for it, I didn't like think it was taking too long. In retrospect, I would say that maybe they foreshadowed things that didn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
But if I was gonna go back and cut something, I don't know if I would have Tim Heidecker and his family in this movie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was about to say that exact same thing, which honestly, I feel like the only reason that they exist in the movie is
get
so that
killed.
white people can die first for once in a horror movie.
He's kidding, right?
He's not kidding.
Hey, I think it's vodka clock.
I don't know if that's what I thought, but I thought that they were trying to like use them to insert the idea that, oh, there's stakes here, like people are getting killed, but we don't want to kill anybody in the family
And
yet.
it was comic relief too, like Tim
There's a
Heidecker,
little
like-
bit,
yeah,
yeah.
like where he goes and he gets the rosé for, and he's like, gotta get my wife's medicine, something like that.
I feel like
I'm
we needed another, and this is what I was thinking about not saying during the like on the way back from the movies. Like I don't want to say what he should have added or taken away because I felt like this always felt very intentional, but we needed probably like another interaction with the family, with the two families.
I think that the beach scene could have been cut. Like we maybe didn't even need to know the tie between them. Like it could have been that they have that experience, they hop in the boat finally after escaping him, and then they happen upon this mansion, right? That's in the dark, and it opens with the scene of Tim Heidecker like sleeping, and he wakes up and he drinks his whiskey, and you're like, oh my god, that's fucking Tim Heidecker. And then they're like looking through the window, and then all of a sudden you see that like the throat slash. Like they didn't need to necessarily be tied to the family. They could have just been victims by happenstance.
But then you're cutting off other payoffs like the flare gun.
But was like those are so minor that for the purpose of the story, I feel like it would have.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I probably wouldn't be like, oh, I need something more from if they like had done it that way.
I think that if they had cut out that scene, none of us would have blinked a fucking eye.
Well, I think you're right. Cut that scene and then don't cast recognizable faces.
Right.
I love Tim Heidecker, but don't have him in this movie in that role, and also Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah, I thought that she
Leave
was
her
out
out
of
as
a little out of place.
Yeah.
Well, a good example of the way that, like, so when the people first come into the house, right, and then they each start branching off, like the dad doppelganger takes the dad, the girl runs off because she's a track star, and the girl doppelganger takes off. And that was a good scene where she's, on top of the car, right? And the guy goes like, get the fuck off my car. What are you doing?
Somebody you haven't seen before.
Somebody you haven't seen before. That's exactly what they should have done with the white family that gets killed first.
I agree.
And it would have been so much smoother.
So a white person does get killed first.
Yes.
We don't even need.
It's almost exclusively white people
It's
that
only
get.
white people.
God damn it.
We're already in spoiler territory. It's not only white people,
It pretty much is.
except for the entire black family, the doppelganger family.
Okay, yes, that is true.
God damn it! Have you seen this movie?
That the doppelganger family does die, yes. However, as far as like victims, because those are the enemies, right? Like those are the bad guys, essentially, of the movie, so we expect them to die. As far as the actual
Sure,
victims
right,
are
yeah.
concerned, it's almost exclusively white. In addition, all of the bodies, which is a nice touch, the bodies that he has just kind of peppered throughout the scene.
They're all
as
white.
explaining- they're all white. They're all white.
Yeah. Well, it's also Santa Cruz, so
Right. Right.
fuck Santa Cruz.
Any other acting that you guys want to shout out?
I thought
Lupita,
Lupita was fabulous. I thought Lupita was
good.
great.
What about her like doppelganger character?
I hated it. I hated it so much. The second that she opened her mouth, I was like, really? I am the shadow person, and I've died tethered.
Yeah.
His
It
use
felt
of
forced.
his use of tethered really fucking bothered me because he used it in like 3 different contexts, and it was like, who uses tether like on a daily basis?
People who live in fucking tunnels for 30 years.
Spoilers.
Okay.
We already did that, but
I guess the vocal thing, like, I was thinking, does she need to be talking? Like, do we need exposition from her?
You know
'Cause
what
everything
makes
else.
a character really scary is not talking.
Michael Myers
Or the
lasted
dad.
for fucking 40
The-
years in pop culture.
The dad's doppelganger is this like unknown quantity. Like, is he gonna bash his head in with a bat because he doesn't say anything and he's just got these like
These
baggy
screams.
eyes?
Michael Myers doesn't scream.
Yeah, I was wondering if there was some kind of commentary there
On
as
the men?
as far on men, as far as like men's inability to communicate in a like a real or meaningful way, where it's always like
Just on the lake. You hear like like she's like saying like, oh, we need to regroup.
she's like clicking like
Yeah.
rhythmically, and
he's like, oh!
and he's just like
They're like Last of Us, like
yeah, totally,
zombies.
totally.
What are you people?
Okay, her talking though, you can have villains. Villains talk. Like,
Villains do talk, but as
and they
far as
explain
horror
their
villains go,
their purpose.
I like ones that are as ambiguous as possible, which is like don't talk, just like creepy looks, as you know.
But then it's just creepy looks, and then what's the point?
What did
what's
she
the
say
motivation?
What did she say that was like meant that was worth saying?
She provided
well,
the
she-
backstory initially of like there being a shadow person who is tethered. So, is this a cautionary tale about cloning? Like, what is this movie even fucking about at the end of the day?
So what did we talk about when we first saw this trailer? What did I say?
Double consciousness.
The movie.
Double consciousness. The movie. Yes. Double consciousness.
The movie.
The movie.
Not as heavy-handed as I was expecting.
Nor I.
Still there, and I think her character is to serve that purpose. And the ultimate conflict between both Lupitas is the battle of the self. And like kind of so the whole thing is you are oblivious to yourself, you learn of yourself, and then you have to kill yourself. The self. That's the whole family's like arc. And that's what they have to go through. Lupita's is more intense, and I think she's just like the manifestation of like what Jordan Peele was trying to get across.
Well, I thought it was nice that it wasn't the dad who was the central focus or the central character of this movie. That it was the mom. It was Lupita. And yeah,
then there's even more layers of like black motherhood and being a black woman and having
Right.
those other consciousness. Those things are like, so it's just a layer after layer. And I think at the end, for me, that like really culminates kind of emotionally when she does ultimately kill Lupita's, or I think that it's credited as Red. That's her alternative.
well,
person.
the good Lupita, which can I just say real quick? Almost immediately, I knew exactly that twist was going to be coming at the end of the movie.
I was wondering when the switch was going to happen.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't really predict that, but I knew that like there has to be like maybe even like I hope that like I was hoping they didn't do a cheesy switch where it's like I'm dressed up just like you and you don't even know it and I stabbed you. Like
I thought there was going to be more bait and switch where
yeah, that's the word.
the dad comes in, right, and she's like, "Oh, thank God, is everything okay out there?" And then he's like,
That would actually be like a really good just if he
That
wants
would
to
be
like
funny,
throw in
right?
humor, which he does. It's pretty naturally funny. There's some forced stuff.
That's kind of where I wanted to go next. Is how you guys felt about the humor in this movie.
Okay.
There's a couple laughs, but I think he was trying to find the line between like this is a scary movie and it's also goofy. Like when they're all sitting on the couches together,
Right.
like when like the Shadow family, they're like trying to be really creepy and establishing themselves as like really scary, and like the dad's just like trying to be goofy, like,
Yeah.
right off of that. So there's a really stark contrast.
The dad kind of ruined a couple moments for me with his because he didn't take anything seriously.
Exactly, yeah.
And that kind of bothered me. I was hoping that he would at least understand a little bit the gravity of the situation that they were in.
When she gets out of the car after they like run over the shadow daughter.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, she's getting out. She got out of the car.
Yes.
I was like, hey man, let your wife
get
scream
out
at her.
Yeah,
Like,
seriously.
concern.
Get
Yeah.
your fucking ass back in the car right now.
Be like your other self and just go, oh,
Yeah.
come back. I agree with that. The humor for me felt natural. I didn't think this movie was scary, and I don't know if this movie was trying to be that scary.
That was another question that I was going to have for you guys, which is, at any point, was there tension in this movie for you, or was it scary?
I think initially when the shadow dad, I'll keep calling him, when he gets the bat, I had like a little tinge of fear that there was going to be a scene of like him bashing in like the dad's head like, in front of his family.
Yeah.
Once that passed, I don't think I was scared again.
Yeah. No, I thought it was interesting, how he's like trying to block the door, and then you see his bat disappear.
Yeah, like that.
And then you just hear the crack against his knee. Like, that was well done. That was really well done. Another scene that I thought was not necessarily ha-ha funny, but that was visually clever, is when they're in the Heidecker home after they've like disposed of all of the doppelgangers, and it's all like close-ups, right, of them talking, kind of like trying to be a family.
Yeah.
And then there's like the one mid shot or full shot with like the chick laying
It's
in the
the overhead
coffee
shot.
table,
Yeah.
over like bloodied, and Tim Heidecker's like laying in his own blood and shit.
And they're just like,
having
let's
this
go.
normal conversation surrounded by fucking dead bodies. Like, again, not ha-ha funny, but
I thought that was funny.
that cut was pretty clever, the way that it happened.
And that was like that was the fucked up twin. There was the twin that was the puppet twin or whatever you call him.
I don't know if I was getting psychic vibes from you or something like that, but when the twins were on screen for the first time, I was like, Jackson's into that. Jackson thinks those girls
Whoa,
are fine.
really random.
Fine. I don't know why. I was like, Jackson.
Well, did you guys get the reference that the twins were there for The Shining?
Oh, what?
Yeah, like when the shadow twins show up, they're like they got the arched head, like The Shining.
Oh,
Come play with us. Is that that went way over my head too. Is that something you read, or is that just something you picked up on?
I read that there was a Shining reference in this, and then I picked that up as the reference.
Interesting. Okay.
And then there's also like a lot of other like inspirational film references, like the kid's wearing a Jaws shirt.
Yes.
And in the beginning of the movie, she's running out onto the beach, and you see like the buoy out in the ocean, and then she runs into the mirror house.
I mean, going back to what I said earlier, I felt like there was a lot of affection and craft in this movie, and there was definitely an attempt to pay homage to many of the films from 70s, 80s, 90s horror films. But what I can't say for sure after watching it is if this movie's absolutely not a part of that class. I mean, there's no question. And I don't know that I'd watch it again. The ending is fucking stupid. Okay, the explanation for this movie is really fucking stupid. I understand the subtext that exists there, right?
don't qualify.
No. I understand
okay.
the subtext of double consciousness and all that, but
This
the
movie
way that
kind of loses that though. Like at the end, it just turns into a really basic horror movie.
yeah, like, okay, so you were like a clone and you were raised in a tunnel, and is this only Santa Cruz, by the way?
Right.
Is this across the country that there are these like white hallways where clones are raised and eat rabbits raw?
It's definitely not trying to get you to think about it that much, I think.
There's a family in our driveway.
It's probably the neighbors. But y'all scared of a family?
So yeah, I wasn't quite sure what the rabbits meant necessarily. I mean, obviously we associate rabbits with like animal testing and cloning and things like that. But I didn't understand if there was like a deeper significance, which I feel like there might have been, because the whole title sequence was these rabbits.
Right.
And I figured that, like, okay, especially when you fully track out and it's just an empty classroom, and then we cut to like them like driving to the house or whatever. It's like, oh, that has nothing to do with the next shot. So like, I'm assuming at the end we're gonna understand what's going on. And like, I didn't get much value out of that specifically. And I think it was like for Get Out, where it's like, oh, so like you had this like deeper meaning, and then the movie really is just about like a surgical procedure that like it rushed it a little bit, but that had more direct relation to like what he was trying to get at. Where this, I still don't quite understand the connection between double consciousness and the puppeteering. I understand like a little bit, but I feel like I'm stretching and I'm doing too much work to get there.
Yeah, we're helping Jordan Peele too much.
Yeah,
in essence,
because the double consciousness has no payoff.
No,
like as far as I can tell.
Well, for me, when she does kill herself, that was the payoff. I guess like the emotion of that.
I'm still waiting on my check, dog. Because like the whole like whistling thing, and then like the choke out.
That is the payoff.
And,
that's
like,
also a payoff too. Referencing back to like that's supposed to be the reveal of like when she was whistling, and then the response.
No,
back
I understand. I understand what
Callback.
Yeah, that it was another callback in a series of callbacks. This movie's a lot of callbacks.
It is.
I understand why. I'm just saying it didn't have much of an impact for me.
Okay.
So I'll bring up another theme, which is so they're all sitting on the couch and they're like, with the two families facing each other, and the above ground family, I guess we'll call them. They ask the Shadow family like, "Who are you?" And Lupita's Shadows says, "We are Americans."
Yeah,
which is like, so there's this political theme to this movie. Us, U.S., United States.
Yeah, actually, when I named the title, I was like, are people going to think this is a podcast about the United States? Because it's just us.
So I think there's a message here that, like, in the United States, we're fighting ourselves.
Right.
There's this division in our country.
Like I said earlier, this movie's a little half-baked.
It is a little half-baked, and it's asking us to be too generous with it, I guess.
Damn it!
And maybe stop fighting our mics.
Yeah, please. Please. You black motherfucker.
I hate this podcast. The one black movie we talk about that I like, you guys don't like.
I haven't said that. Two things that I want to bring up from our movie going experience.
Okay.
A note that I have here is, wow, black people really do yell at the screen.
Well, when did that happen?
It happened a lot.
Kind of constantly throughout the movie.
Who?
There was
Do you know their names?
Yeah, there was actually like quite a few black people in attendance at this
Give me
film,
a direction,
which was also really exciting. I was happy for
It was
I saw
usually
them,
it was
but I
usually
didn't hear them,
behind.
but-
It was usually behind, and it was the kind of like things that you would expect of like,
was
don't
it-
go in there.
Was it the clappers?
People were just like,
No, it wasn't the
"Man,
clappers.
why are you getting out of the car?
Yeah, yes. Why are you getting out of the car? And then
So I was like, why are you getting out of the car?
we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the man who seemingly ejaculated in the middle of the film. Like, it's dead silent in the theater, and then two chairs down to me to my left, it's just
The ultimate release.
yeah, followed by an and I don't know what was happening there, but I assume it was ejaculation.
What was your other note? You had notes?
Well, it was that black people talk a lot.
That's
and
all you
that-
wrote down?
And no, I have other notes.
You need to have something else to say. I will not accept black people yell at the screens is the only thing.
Except for they do. Oh yeah, I did see code switching in the film. When the family's first outside, right? And he goes out there and he's like, "Excuse me, you need to leave, please. Like, this isn't funny. Go away." And then when he's really mad and trying to scare him off, he's like, "Hey, get the fuck out of here! Get off my property, man!"
I warned y'all.
Yeah.
And
And he's got like the baseball bat and everything like that. So I thought that was an appearance of code switching.
Can I help you?
Zora, put your shoes on.
If you want to get crazy, we can get crazy.
Let's see. The opening scene with Chud and Nightmare on Elm Street, man ejaculating. Oh, masks and handcuffs.
Lots of masks.
Lots of masks, lots of handcuffs, which are, of course,
Lots of mirroring.
visual themes relating to double consciousness as well as Black history in terms of slavery.
Peeta is chained to the bed a lot.
Yeah, and
Or
she
just
wears handcuffs.
Just to general furniture. She's chained to furniture a lot.
Well,
Wait,
the culmination is that she strangles her double self with the handcuffs and then is able to unlock and remove the handcuffs after that point, essentially then liberating herself from her double consciousness, right?
What were you saying about Black history?
White folks dead everywhere.
That
White,
wasn't lost on me.
yeah, white folks die first and brutally, and then finally scary, question mark?
No.
Nope.
But how there wasn't like intentional jump scares. It wasn't like a movie that was trying to like just like make you freak out. I think it was more of a creeping in type of horror where I felt like
There was a
more-
tension horror.
Yeah, I felt more chilled than anything. I felt the tension. I just didn't I didn't feel like truly like scared. And I don't know if this movie was going for that.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was going to be truly frightening. Although I like a lot of the reviews that I've read were like genuinely frightening, which it's not.
More twists and turns than
a corkscrew.
Frightened screw.
On the note on the reviews, one thing I noticed about them was they like talked about Get Out. Like half of like all these reviews were just like Jordan Peele, who made Get Out. You know, Get Out is this amazing redefining the genre movie. And then oh yeah, he also made this movie that what we're reviewing right now.
Right.
Which is great, but okay, Get Out.
So
Yeah, I guess my final, if we want to do our review or recommendations
Hit
and
us with
stuff,
it.
I guess my overall still like this movie.
I would actually, for once in my life, advocate for the 2-part question.
Hell yeah, boy! Got these motherfuckers to include this. Okay. But let me just my final thought. I would have appreciated, and I think the film would have benefited from a more localized plot, or I guess just localized story. If we were at a smaller scale,
So you wanted the home invasion horror?
not necessarily just the home invasion. I wanted parts of that, and I like that when they do leave, I readjusted like the scale of what I was expecting this movie to be. I didn't like the whole like we're gonna link our hands across the world.
that was
weird.
meaningless.
Yeah, it was weird and meaningless.
And it was kind of fucking funny when like you realize that like the reason why they're all linked up is because of that shirt, where that shirt is just like a bullshit thing from the 80s to like help the homeless. Like,
Right.
we're gonna hold
That's so
hands
weird.
across the country. It's like, wait, that's like your whole mission was like you obviously don't understand what happened. So like that one, it got too big for me, and I think it would have benefited like having just more like of his like vision in a smaller scale film. So that's pretty much my only big
I
complaint.
actually agree with that. I think that this movie could benefited from him kind of narrowing in on like some of these ideas that he had, and like some stuff being left on the cutting room floor.
A paring down
Paring down.
would have done this film wonders.
Yeah, and you could have still had so that's it. Yeah.
So I will say that I liked this movie, and I'm not sure though that I would recommend it
I don't want the second question anymore.
as a
Take it back.
as a theater going experience. I would not recommend it. If this is on HBO, or if you have a lot of laundry to do,
We need to
As
support
is-
this movie in the box office.
Okay, from that perspective, then
This
yes.
movie doesn't need your help, though.
I don't think
it's
doing extremely well.
I don't think it's going to need our help.
But if we all had that
I do
attitude.
want to see Jordan Peele's next movie. This is by no means enough for me to write him off or anything like that, because I did like it, but it ultimately, compared to Get Out, which felt like a fairly cohesive idea, this felt kind of like a mishmash, almost more like what you were talking about earlier, where Get Out was like a series of skits lightly tied together. I didn't get that sense from Get Out, but I got that sense from this movie, where like his background as a sketch performer, I felt like I saw that a lot more with this, where it was more of a collection of scenes than it was like a fulfilling whole. So go see this movie if you like black people. Otherwise, just stay at home and watch it on HBO.
I would agree that it's not a theater going experience, which this movie kind of strikes me as Get Out did really well, and he had studios banging on his door being like, give us another movie, and
Jason Blumhouse was like, you better be making another fucking movie soon.
I feel like this was the movie that he passed over to make Get Out, where he was like, oh, this is a better idea, and then they were like, give us another movie, we're ready to go, we have the money, get it into production. And he was like, well, I have this idea of this this movie with this family, they find their doppelgangers or something, and
they're like, that's great, Jordan, what else? Okay, well, I have this
What about
other idea
cloning?
about white people who inhabit the bodies of black people. Great, yes, nope, that's what we're talking about right now, Jordan. Let's make that film.
pretty much.
And then he was like, and put us back on the table.
Someday.
Yeah, someday.
But I mean, I didn't write this movie off like the whole time. Usually when I don't like a movie, at some point I sign out, like Captain Marvel.
Right.
No, you physically, I can feel it in your chair.
I feel like this movie tried my patience, but at no point was I was like, I wonder if I can get comfortable enough to sleep in this movie theater.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying at the very beginning, which is that this movie is stylish. It's competently made. I would almost go so far as to say that it's fairly visually arresting, right? Like you may be kind of bored at moments, but generally speaking, you are in tune with what's going on screen, and you're interested to see where it goes next. It's unfortunate that it doesn't pay off the way it should.
Yeah. I don't like the ending where it's trying to like explain this oh, we're just clones living under the underground and we're forgotten, but I was the one who made it above ground, and we switched. It's really convoluted, but there's scenes that I liked a lot. Mm-hmm. One was where the son's doppelganger gets burned. I like it when horror movies take the threat and move it in broad daylight. I think that those scenes are really cool. And then I also thought that the scene where they're cutting between the dance scene and them fighting in the classroom with I Got 5 on It.
Oh, yeah. The
melody
orchestral
playing.
version.
Yeah.
I thought that scene was done really well, too. But I agree with you. Wouldn't see in the theater, but if it's just like on Netflix or something, it's worth a watch.
Absolutely. Like, don't even hesitate to watch this movie if it's on a streaming service that you subscribe to. Like, you will not be wasting your time watching this.
Yeah.
So you would probably hold off on laundry while watching this.
I would probably get in trouble with my wife because the laundry wouldn't be done when
be
she got home.
piling up.
Because I'd just be piling up around me because I was too busy watching us.
You'd have the colors here and then the whites there.
Yes.
And they're like, honey, why aren't you fold them?
The towels are still in the washer? You haven't even put them in the dryer? What's going on?
I wish Tim Heidecker was funnier in this. Like, he had a couple laughs.
But honestly, he was struggling.
He was. Well, I feel like Jordan Peele, I think he was confused, as sometimes I was, with what this movie was trying to do, whether it was trying to be scary or funny.
Yeah.
Because,
he can do both.
Yeah, he can do both, but you have this scene where his whole family is slaughtered, and then his wife is crawling on the ground, and then his doppelganger reaches down, and she's like, "Oh, you're gonna help me," and then he does the
yeah,
oh, gotcha.
Well, and then she's like, "Whatever, call the police." Okay, I will play "Fuck the Police" by NWA.
I don't like Elizabeth Moss. I'll say. I think that they were they just worshiping her as an actor in this, because they give her some scenes where she's just seems like she's just, I don't even know how to explain it, but she's just doing her own thing.
Well, talk about low hanging fruit, playing the alcoholic, Botoxed, middle aged white
plastic surgery.
Yeah, plastic surgery white wife. I mean, easy.
Yeah, there's some up and coming actors who probably could have delivered on these roles better.
Not The Handmaid. Josh, did you like this movie, and would you recommend it?
Oh my god! Hearing you say it just warms my little tender heart. I think it's pretty obvious. Yes, I'd like it. Yes, I'd recommend it. I think it's good, and for the parts that it doesn't succeed in, the rest of the movie holds it up.
So that's all the time we have.
I just want to know what your favorite part of it was. Beginning, ending, middle.
Well, I've already. It's not the favorite like moment or part act.
Yeah, like when you think of like how good this movie was, what part of it comes to mind?
I mean, her like gutturally snapping the neck of her other self, and then like having just kind of like, just like this like her hyperventilating and like making like these weird noises, and just like kind of like becoming like a base of a person rather than like this other person with complex emotions and like feelings or thoughts. Like this is the thing I've been reduced to is, and it's also allegorical for yourself, your actual literal self, and then your metaphorical allegorical self, like violently murdering it. I think that like just, like you have that feeling in your face when like you feel like you're about to cry, like your eyeballs start tingling and like
I've never
sweating.
cried in my life.
I had that moment, and that was the only real moment where I felt something. Maybe other stuff between her and the son, but that for me was like, whoa, it did something to me.
Josh, do you recommend this movie?
I recommend this movie. Yeah, you should see it in theaters, on streamings. I agree with that as well. But if you really like want to see what this is about, it's not like mind blowing in any way. It's not gonna like freak you out and scare the shit out of you. I think the audience was even kind of disappointed.
And the mystery is nowhere near as good as the one in Get Out.
There's
not even close.
Well, I was gonna ask you, would you choose this movie or Get Out?
For what context?
Well, like
if you had to choose one.
If you had
for the rest of my
both
life,
movies just sitting side by side, and you're like, I'm gonna watch a movie. Which one would you reach for?
Probably Us, because it just came out. I want to watch it again. Yeah, you don't.
If you have any
ask me that
questions,
question.
concerns, complaints, comments, please email us at tobehonestcast@gmail.com.
One more time, please.
tobehonestcast@gmail.com.
Have we gotten any emails recently?
We've literally gotten not a single email.
Yeah, why are we getting so many views with like so little emails?
I feel like people are maybe scared.
They're
intimidated by how
too.
handsome we are. That's true. But I think it's probably how handsome we are.
Yeah, understandable, really.
Yeah.
Do you remember the episode where I, at the end, start unzipping my pants?
Uh-huh.
Do you think I should do that more or less?
Yes, more. Always more.
Okay.
Anyways, thanks for watching. You didn't have anything else to say, did you?
Are you serious?
Jordan Peele, if you're looking for a dead white extra, I'm available. I'm looking for work, please.
It doesn't get much wider than this.
He looks dead like almost all the time, so
You'll
it's
have
perfect.
to get some experts in lighting because I've been known to ruin a shot with my paleness, but we'll work on it. There's,
Conversely, you could also be like a production assistant. You could just stand and reflect the light
Like they
onto
could
the
just shine it
actors
on
from
me.
you.
That is
Be a
true.
bounce
Yeah,
board,
sure. Yeah, be a bounce board. Thank you.
Yeah, it's my double consciousness as a lighting object as well as a person.